All right, we're all living in this amazing age of AI, right? But here's the catch. How do we protect our most valuable data from the very same tools we're so excited to build? Well, that's what we're here to talk about. Today, we're going to build a fortress, a digital fortress, around your information. Let's get to it.
Now, before we dive in, just a quick note, everything we're covering today comes straight from Chapter 3 of a really great tutorial from Virtualization Options LLC. So you know the blueprint we're working from is solid.
So what's the big deal here? Think about it. AI models are like super students. They learn so well that sometimes they memorize things they're not supposed to. And then, whoops, they can accidentally leak those little secrets, sensitive bits of data from their training. This is not your garden variety data breach, folks. It's a whole new ballgame, and it means we need a totally new playbook to protect ourselves.
Okay, first things first. You can't just start building a fortress without knowing what you're protecting, right? You've got to survey the treasure first. So step 1 is all about classifying your data assets.
And this usually breaks down into 4 main levels. You've got your restricted data. Think of these as the crown jewels, the stuff that needs the absolute tightest security. Then you've got confidential and internal use data. And finally, there's public info, which is okay for everyone to see. Now, why does this matter so much? Because this pyramid, this hierarchy, tells you exactly how high and how thick the walls need to be for each piece of your treasure.
All right, we've surveyed the treasure. Now it's time to actually start building this fortress, layer by layer. And listen, this isn't a one-and-done deal. We have to secure the entire life cycle of the data, from the second it's born to the second it's, well, gone.
It all kicks off right at the front gate, at data collection. You need secure pipelines for bringing data in. You have to authenticate the source, make sure it's legit. And of course, you check for quality. It's just like having a guard at the gate, checking the ID of everyone and everything that tries to come inside.
Okay, so the data is inside. Now what? You have to store it somewhere safe, right? This is all about locking the vaults. Your data has got to be encrypted, not just when it's sitting still, but also when it's in transit. And this is so important. Access controls. You have to make sure only the right people have the keys to those vaults.
Now, this part is absolutely critical. This is when the AI is actually using the data. It's when everything is active and moving around, and honestly, it's when your data is probably most vulnerable. So what do? We create secure, isolated environments. You can think of them like digital sandboxes, where the AI can play with the data without any risk of it spilling out or getting mixed up with something else. And last but not least, you can't just keep data forever. Everything has a shelf life, and when it's time to get rid of it, you can't just toss it in the digital dumpster. Securely destroying data is every bit as important as protecting it in the first place. You have to make sure it's gone for good, so it can never come back to haunt you. Okay, so our fortress has its walls, its guards, its vaults. Pretty solid. But if we want to make it truly next level, we need to add a little magic. Let's talk about some seriously powerful technology. Think of them as enchantments for your fortress that take your defenses into a whole new dimension. First up, we have something called differential privacy. The best way to think about it is like this. You can study a forest without pointing out any individual tree. It cleverly adds just a tiny bit of random noise to the data. That noise is enough to make it impossible to identify any single person, but the big picture, the overall trends, they stay perfectly clear. It's genius, really. All right, next up is federated learning, and this one is a total game changer. Get this, instead of dragging all your sensitive data to one central spot for training an AI, you send the AI model out to the data. The model learns on site, and the raw data never ever leaves its secure home. This is huge for privacy, especially in places like healthcare, where that data is legally locked down.
Okay, now this next one sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. It's called homomorphic encryption. What if you could work on data while it's still completely scrambled and encrypted? That's what this does. It's literally like being able to organize the contents of a locked safe without ever having the key. You can train a model on super sensitive data that the model itself never actually sees in its raw form. It's mind-blowing.
So what happens when you need to team up with someone? That's where secure multi-party computation comes in. It lets different companies or different groups pool their data to build a smarter, more powerful AI model. But here's the kicker. They can do it without ever showing each other their private data. Everyone gets the benefit of the group's knowledge, but nobody has to reveal their secrets. It's collaboration without the risk.
So we have the walls, we have the locks, we even have the magic spells. But a fortress, no matter how strong, is nothing without rules and the people to enforce them. You need laws and you need guards, and in our world, that's called data governance.
And a really solid governance framework boils down to these 4 pillars. First, policy development. You need clear rules of the road. Second, access management. You follow the principle of least privilege. People only get access to what they absolutely need to do their job, and nothing more. Third, monitoring and auditing. You're always watching, always checking the logs to make sure everything's on the up and up. And finally, continuous improvement, because the bad guys are always getting smarter, which means you have to too.
And there you have it. That's the blueprint. You classify your treasure, you secure it at every single stage, you layer on those advanced tech enchantments, and you govern the whole thing with strong rules. But look, building the fortress is just the beginning. The work is never truly over, because new threats are always just over the horizon. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. Your fortress might be strong today, but is it ready to adapt and evolve for whatever comes next?